have given my heart and soul to my husband for 20 years. One day, when I returned home, I found signed divorce papers.
I'm moving out of the house. Please make sure to sign the divorce papers, okay? Fine, let's get a divorce.
What? This is too sudden? At least tell me the reason.
Fine, I will tell you, my girlfriend is pregnant. You are no longer needed.
Girlfriend? Pregnant? What are you talking about?
I won't pay a cent for alimony. There is no proof of my infidelity anyway.
Piece of bile Prussians. I'm bursting with rage at this point. I've dedicated myself entirely to him, managing the household, caring for our child, and tending to his mom for 2 decades. Yet he wants to end it with a single phone call for such a selfish reason. You just wait and see. I immediately suppress my anger.
Oh, I see. Fine, let's get a divorce.
In the following month, he went into a frenzy, bombarding me with calls. I'm Martha, a 46-year-old nurse. I've taken pride in working since I was younger. My husband's name is Tony. He's 2 years older than me and works in a telecom company. He says we met through our mutual friend. His dependable and manly attitude grabbed my heart back then. We started going out, and eventually, he popped the question. I was thrilled to be engaged to him. His father had passed away during his university, so his mother lived alone. I heard that she was from an affluent family and carried on an air of sophistication. Oh, what a lovely girl! I'm so glad that to have you as my family. She gave me a gentle smile. I was happy to have such a charming mother-in-law. After we got married and moved in together, I discovered that he had no intention of sharing household chores. He left his laundry lying around, didn't take out the trash, and never bothered to clean up after eating. Since we were both working, I asked him several times to help out, but all he ever said was, "Housework is a wife's responsibility. Don't try to make me do it." Back then, society was a little more conservative compared to today, and there was still a belief that housework was a wife's duty, and men should be put on a pedestal. Back then, society was a bit more conservative and believed that housework was a wife's duty and men should be put on a pedestal. I obediently followed this idea. Not long after we got married, I became pregnant. While Tony was happy about it, he still didn't help me at home. I couldn't do chores due to morning sickness. He would become visibly upset, saying, "Geez, are we having takeout again today, even though I had been sick in bed all day?" He would sometimes complains he casket such a lazy wife. I wished he would show some consideration for me. But despite my thoughts, I apologized, believing that taking care of my husband's needs was a wife's duty. I did my best to be attentive to him. Even after our daughter Sarah was born, he remained the same. He played with her only when she was in a good mood and avoided diaper changes or making formula. No matter how many times I told him should share parenting, he just didn't get it. I was running around taking care of Sarah and housework from morning to night, while he only focused on his job. He says after I returned to work, nothing changed. He remained indifferent to childcare and spent his time as he pleased. During those times, Cassidy occasionally helped out and really adored Sarah, without making any complaints to me. I was saved by her presence. As the years went by, we somehow reached our 20th wedding anniversary. Sarah was 18 years old and living in a university dorm. I was thinking that I would have more time for myself, even though I was still juggling work and the chores daily. However, I received a call saying that Cassidy had fallen down at home and broken a bone. When Tony and I went to the hospital, she looked devastated.
So from my song. Well, I'm getting old. I could leave the hospital soon. But I would need care for my daily life.
I'll go worry about it, Martha. And sup, Martha's is gonna help you.
To my surprise, Tony told her as if it was no big deal. I had a full-time job and thought I finally could start thinking about my own life. Sensing my inner turmoil, Cassidy spoke up.
But she works full-time and is already busy. I can't burden.
Tony looked at me and asked if I could manage with a hint of pressure. I couldn't say no, so I had to say, leave it to me. That was how I ended up juggling all the household chores, working, and taking care of my mother-in-law. Tony left the caregiving entirely to me and didn't even ask about her condition. I couldn't help but think he was cold-hearted, but for Cassidy's sake, I continued to do my best every day. It was around that time, he began working late and spending a lot of time away from home. Despite claiming overtime, he often came home late at night drunk. I ended up eating dinner alone more frequently, feeling lonely. 3 months after I started caring for Cassidy, our 20th wedding anniversary approached. I had arranged for us to go out for dinner to celebrate in the midst of the daily grind of work, housework, and caregiving. It was the one thing I looked forward to.
Honey, don't forget. We have a dinner reservation for our wedding anniversary tonight. Let's meet in front of the restaurant, okay?
Acting a reminded Tony, handing a briefcase to him as he was leaving for work. I watched him walk out of the door, and then I headed to work as well. After finishing my shift, I waited in front of the restaurant at the agreed-upon time of 6 p.m., but he didn't show up. I got anxious and tried calling him multiple times, but he didn't answer. I ended up eating dinner alone more frequently, feeling lonely. 3 months after I started caring for Cassidy, our 20th wedding anniversary approached. I had arranged for us to go out for dinner to celebrate in the midst of the daily grind of work, housework, and caregiving. It was the one thing I looked forward to.
Honey, don't forget. We have a dinner reservation for our wedding anniversary tonight. Let's meet in front of the restaurant, okay?
At reminded Tony, handing a briefcase to him as he was leaving for work. I watched him walk out of the door, and then I headed to work as well. After finishing my shift, I waited in front of the restaurant at the agreed-upon time of 6 p.m., but he didn't show up. I got anxious and tried calling him multiple times, but he didn't answer. On the 8th call, he picked up. It sounded pretty noisy where he was.
Why are you calling me over and over?
It's our anniversary dinner, remember? It's almost time.
Never mind the anniversary. Seriously, is he pointless celebrating? I mean, you care about that stuff. It's go ahead and celebrate on your own, just you, like, you know I'm not coming home tonight, but...
Wait, hold on!
He hung up without listening to my pleas. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to eat alone, so I canceled the reservation and left the restaurant disappointed. I told Sarah what happened when she called. She got angry on my behalf and called him a jerk, which made me feel a bit better. Afterward, I went to check on Cassidy. She noticed the air of gloom surrounding me and asked what happened. I ended up telling her about how Tony had canceled our anniversary dinner. Her face became quite serious, and I immediately regretted telling her. As I grew anxious, she spoke in a solemn tone.
She spoke in a solemn tone. Listen, Martha, I must tell you something.
3 months had passed since then. When I returned home from stopping by Cassidy's after work, my house was pitch dark.
As soon as I turned on the lights, I saw something on the table that left me speechless. They were the boys' papers left by Tony.
I immediately reached out to him. Honey, where are you? What are these papers?
He didn't hide his annoyance and replied, I'm moving out of the house, just sign those, okay? Though, always worry to give that to me.
I was burning with rage at that moment.
I dedicated myself entirely to him, managing the household, caring for our child, and tending to his mom for 2 decades. Yet he wanted to end it with a single phone call for such a selfish reason. I thought, you just wait and see. I immediately suppressed my anger.
Oh, I see. Fine. Let's get a divorce, I replied calmly.
He sounded surprised by my reaction.
Oh, really?
So, what are your plans for your mother's caregiving if we divorce?
He replied, caregiving? I'm sure I'll figure out something. If you're so concerned about it, go ahead and you can continue. Anyway, I gotta go now. It feels so good to know that I don't have to see her face anymore. But the call ended.
I couldn't help but smile as I held my phone.
Afterward, I gave Sarah a rundown of what was happening. Finally, you're better off without him. Let me know if you need my help. Once again. I was left dumbfounded at how little he was regarded by his own daughter.
About a month later, I received a call during my lunch break.
That was from Tony, so I ignored it, but the phone didn't stop ringing. He was bombarding me with incessant calls. It was becoming quite annoying, so I reluctantly picked it up.
At last, what the heck do you think you're doing by sending me that?
I replied to his anger nonchalantly.
He continued shouting nonsense, which I cut off by saying,
But come to your mom's place tonight at 7 p.m. We'll talk there. Then I hung up the phone. That night, I waited for him with Cassidy at her house until he arrived, looking all pissed off.
Ah, darn you, what do you think you're doing?
What do you mean?
I mean this, you're coming after me for alimony?
He handed me the documents sent through a lawyer. I calmly told him, we are getting a divorce because of your affair. So asking for alimony is only fair, right?
Where is the proof of my affair there?
Your girlfriend is with your child, right? You said so yourself.
He fell silent. I wondered how reckless he could be without realizing it himself.
But there should be no concrete proof of the affair. If I just play dumb, I won't need to pay alimony.
I threw several photos at him while he stammered out excuses. They were of him walking arm in arm with a young woman entering a hotel.
What the heck, were you having me followed?
Obviously. Did you have fun meeting your girlfriend behind my back?
I thought you had no idea.
Then Cassidy spoke up. She told me to look into your activities. I saw you walking with that woman when I was coming back from the hospital.
That night when our anniversary dinner was canceled, she shamefully revealed about witnessing his affair.
She urged me to act fast and even offered to cover the investigation fee if needed. With her assistance, I had the evidence collected.
That's where people have to divorce after that.
So we're getting a divorce.
I'll claim $30K for alimony and property division.
Please spare me from alimony. I have a new life waiting for me, I'm gonna have a child with her.
The confidence and bravado from earlier disappeared, and he pleaded meekly. I looked down at him with a cold gaze.
No, I will not spare you. If you refuse to pay, we'll go to court or whatever it takes.
If you refuse to pay alimony, we'll go to court or whatever it takes.
Hearing that, he suddenly became defiant. Fine. I'll pay alimony or whatever. He sneered with a malicious expression, boasting, anyway, I'll inherit my mom's estate soon. Her family's rich, and I'm her only son. I am gonna get a substantial inheritance, Frustrated, he then glared at me.
Satan's boast, Assy, looking exasperated, said, "You couldn't have cared less about me. And you betrayed Martha, who devoted herself to raising Sarah and caring for me. Do you really think you are getting an inheritance?" She added, "I intend to give my assets to her and Sarah before I pass away. I've already changed the beneficiary from my life insurance to her. Don't expect to get anything from me or something. No way. He pleaded with her to reconsider over and over, but she was adamant.
Frustrated, he glared at me, so I decided to drop another bomb on him. Oh, by the way, should I tell you something interesting? I handed him a manila folder and said, "As you can see, it's evidence of your girlfriend, Jessica, meeting her real boyfriend." The pictures inside showed her hanging out with a young, handsome guy, kissing and doing what happy young couples do. Jessica, who'd been working at a bar, seemed to be deeply involved with one of the regulars. Tony trembled as he looked at the photos, but I couldn't help but burst into laughter as I said, seriously, "Do you really? You think a woman this young and beautiful would marry a middle-aged average Joe like you? Haven't you figured it out yet? She was just using you for money." I then added, "I'm ashamed of my son." He started to tremble and attempted to make a call, but the announcement on the other end said, "The call cannot be completed as dialed." But the announcement on the other end said, "The call cannot be completed as dialed."
Bye, what's going on?
I laughed at his clueless face.
She's probably blocked you. Looks like you've been dumped.
Though it can't be.
He collapsed to his knees, devastated. Then he suddenly clung to me.
"Martha, I have been the biggest fool. I was deceived. The only person I truly love is you. Let's start over. Let's go back to being a happy family with Sarah and Mom." He tried to grab my hand, and I forcefully pushed him away.
Don't touch me. You left me like that. After I spent 20 years dedicating to you, I will never forgive you. Pay up and get lost, you scumbag.
Then I kicked him out of the house while he bawled his eyes out in such a shameful way. Later on, we finalized our divorce. At Tim's, I was able to claim alimony from him and received a substantial portion in the property division. Sarah and Cassidy blocked his calls and stopped talking to him as well. Still true to his financial contribution to his girlfriend, he had almost depleted his savings. He had to borrow money to pay alimony. At work, he used to brag about marrying a younger woman and having a child. It now became a running joke after his colleagues found out that he was dumped and her pregnancy turned out to be a lie. He has been referred to as a pathetic old man who's fooled by a younger girl and abandoned by his wife. Since then, he has lost his family, savings, and accumulated debts, forcing him to live in a rundown apartment. Even with this knowledge, I feel no sympathy for him. Instead, I think he got what he deserved. Option on the other hand, I sold the house and now live comfortably in a new apartment. Soon, I plan to take Sarah and Cassidy on vacation using the alimony we won. Cassidy's health is improving, and she has been expressing her gratitude to me. From now on, I will cherish what's left and move forward with a bright outlook on life.